On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it. On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it.
Let us put our hands together for Pupa Wheeler.
Suicide bomber, bring it up to shout for me. I want them to roar, roar, boy, roar for me. Anything you want, you go get, boy. I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. ID no necessary, boy. Whisker lips a mercenary. Bring it up to shout for me. I want it to roar, roar, boy, roar for me. Maintain your impulso, total zombie and beater. Take it away. is decreasing. Boy, by the numbers they keep dropping. Nobody don't shout no more like they used to shout before. Boy, these grunting fans they crumbling about promise songs. Fail on delivering. Boy, start song and can't finish it. It's standard English, singing stupendous nonsense. Why don't you sing a song and again? Tell me what happened to me fair share when the money disappear. Ooh yeah, boy. Stewardship in question here. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. I'm gonna be rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, boy, I do me like the doctor, placing their compass suicide bomber. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. I'm gonna be mashing up the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, boy, I do it like the doctor, placing their compass suicide bomber. Boy, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. Anything you want, you go get, boy. I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I didn't know necessary. Boy, we got lips of mercenary. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. Maintain your impulso. Todo zombie and Peter. Boy, take it away. Chartering airlines. See preacher, see taxi. Bringing them to shout for me. I want them to roar for me. You don't know. You got to spend big money if you wanna win monarchy. I go got the diaspora. 420 in my corner, boy. Share the life, boy. Press like, subscribe, sharing. All here the diaspora's king. Your king go be knocking down your airport, knocking down hospital walls, boy. Training geothermal. Let the Jewish people sing the song. These Hebrew boys don't understand. Betty, that is out for me. I want to roll, boy, roll for me. I'll be rocking down the complex. Yes, if they don't throw me king, do it like the doctor, president, compass, suicide bomber. Bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. Anything you want, you go get. Yes, I'm mixing up the soca with some Hindi and some rumba, chutney and lavandera. I didn't know necessary. Please got lips of mercenary. Boy, bringing them to shout for me. I wanted to roll, boy, roll for me. Maintain el impulso. Todo zombie and Peter. Keep the momentum. Everybody is welcome. Thank you.
Papa Wheeler.
All right. Let me say good afternoon to all of you who have taken time out of your busy Saturday afternoon schedule to be with us here on Target. And I'm your host, as usual, on a Saturday afternoon with my co-host Tulu Weeks in the house. Daniel is off to a funeral of a young man from Bath, and so he gives his excuse, which, of course we accept with sympathy. Condolences to the family who are grieving. All right, let me say good afternoon to all those on the Twitch, YouTube, FM dial, and of course those on the Facebook feed. We're glad to have you here with us for another Saturday afternoon program. We did start exactly at 1 o'clock, Tanya Powell. We started exactly at 1. I don't know if Texas time. I know everything big is Texas, but your time is wrong. All right. Let me put up our ugly picture here and make sure people can see us while we are talking to you. Let me see here. Here we go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, first on the board today, back on top. My good man from up there in Chicago town, Jetty Taylor, is in the house. First on the board. He sort of relinquished that position last week to LCQ down there in Florida, but he's back on top. There's a gentleman here on Nevis, Jetty. We call him back on top because every time he get bite, he come back around and pay the bills, and so he get back on top. So that's our nickname for him.
You're a bad fellow.
Back on top. So, when he broke, she bite him, and then when he got money, he back on top.
You're a bad boy. You are a bad boy.
I ain't gonna call the name of who it is. I gotta figure that one out. Me one I'm more loyal to daddy. But let me say good afternoon to Jetty Taylor for us on the board. And then my good friend down there in St. Kitts and my number one fan on St. Kitts, Dol Penny's in the house. And all our St. Kitts listeners, good afternoon to every one of you. And as time rolls on, we'll get more familiar with you. Most of you tune in, I guess, via the FM dial, but we appreciate your presence every single time. Third up, Tanya Powell, my good neighbor and friend for life. Tanya Powell was third, followed very, very closely by Cecile Hobson. Cecile was fourth, and fifth, my good friend, that lovely lady, Arlene Jeffers Stanford. Woo, what a long, lovely name. Arlene Jeffers Stanford. And then right behind that, Ruby Walters, my good friend. Ruby, how are you? Hope everything is well. And Pearl Francis, my good dancer. She's always dancing the jig with us here on Facebook feed. Pearl, good afternoon to you. And another triple name, Ingrid Daniel Farrell, is in the house.
It's a warrior. A
warrior from there, of course, a sister of our dear leader, Janice Daniel Hodge. And Camilla Sutton is in the house. Good afternoon, Camilla. And Monica Pemberton. Monica, you did not come for your breakfast last week, Saturday. You missed a wonderful breakfast, and it was free. You won it fair and square, and you did not come for it. I am hurting. Maybe you came when I wasn't there. I was out on delivery, so let me just say you did not come.
You're hurting because she didn't collect the breakfast, or you didn't see her?
Both.
Okay.
Corvin Wilkin, the biggest sponsor for our free events, here. I should call them free, but sponsored events, always coming through for us. Corvin Wilkin, and he would have donated generously for the St. Paul's breakfast. He would have donated generously for the Women's Arm function, and of course for St. Thomas's and St. James. So thank you, Corvin, for your continued benevolence on behalf of the NRP party here on Nevis. All right. And up in the great state of Florida, Deacon Oral Jeffers is in your house. Good afternoon, Deacon. Hope you and your lovely wife are doing well. And Joseph Brooks up there in New York. Joseph, how are you, my brother? Muriel Brown is in the house. Good afternoon to you, Muriel. Always present on a Saturday afternoon. And so is Victor Brown, but he has it reversed. He says Brown Victor. So I think it's Victor Brown. I may be wrong, but I believe it's Brown, Victor Brown, not Brown Victor. You know. Jessica Lewis down there in St. Thomas. Your sister is back in the States with my brother. I wish them well. Ty is up there with them also. She traveled with them on Thursday. Everybody got in safe, so, one fishing partner is down. But we have another one here. Sharon Stapleton, good afternoon, my dear. How are you? Always present on the show. Thank you for being in class early as usual. Thanks, Sharon. And Paul Pemberton, bringing up right behind Sharon. Paul, good afternoon to you. And Ivor, the Beast Henry from over there. Formerly Miami, but now, formerly Florida, but now Atlanta, or Georgia, I should say. Good afternoon to Henry. And Pearl Francis, did I call Pearl Francis? Yes, I did. So she must be twice as nice. So I call her twice. Pearl Francis. All right. Gemini Nisbet over there in St. James, how are you? I hope you are doing well. And Kitchen King is in the house. He has been absent for some time, but he's back on board now. Glad to have you present with us. And Master Laquili Jones, my good friend. I think she's down in the USVI. The last I heard. If I'm wrong, maybe. I don't know. You know Marcella Jones, right? Lovely lady.
Lovely lady.
Lovely lady. And my good friend and one of my best students ever, Adele McClendon, is in the house. Ermine Queely is in the house. Steve Mills is in the house. Elvis Leslie is in the house. And so is August Washington, Cedric Daniel, and Patrick Hanley. You know Patrick Hanley from the Government Road. You know the Hanley family. Right, Tulu?
Yes, ma'am.
You took a long time to answer, so I wasn't certain if you know.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, okay. If I missed anybody, I see Glenda Nisbet just signed on. She says, Jetty, I'm visiting today. Okay. Charles Tyson down in the USBI is here. And Gina Tyson is also here. So husband and wife together or on the show. Desmond Claxton is here. And who else is here? I think that's about it for now. All right. Catherine France just tagged in. Catherine, how are you? I hope you're doing well. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. I saw a notice here on the table. I guess it's from Nurse Dion Flanders. And this Nevis Nurses Association presents Sports Day 2024. And this will be held next week, Saturday, looks like, May 11th. Yeah, May 11th, 2024 at 1 p.m. at ETW Park. And the nurses have arranged themselves in 3 teams. All right, 3 teams. First team is called the Red Dragons. And the second team, which I'm backing, called the Green Eagles. And the Blue Pythons are the third team. Boo. I'm only kidding. So the Red Dragons, Green Eagles, and the Blue Pythons. Adults are only $10. Children $5. And there'll be live commentary and music, food, and drinks on sale. The races include 60 meters, 80 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, and more fun races such as lime and spoon, tug of war, etc., etc. So please go out next week, Saturday at 1 p.m. Walk with your radio so you can listen on target. And support the nurses. So the Nurses Association presents their Sports Day next week, Saturday at 1 p.m. All right, go support our nurses. All right, cool. Now, let me start with this by saying good afternoon to you, Tulu. I said good afternoon already?
Good afternoon, my brother, again.
I must be losing my marbles. Okay. Let me take it back. I say good afternoon to Evan Jeffers and Patricia Hazel. Oh, I never seen a name like that. Patricia Hazel. Okay. Okay, she's saying, I'm watching the show. Good afternoon. You have a blessed and safe weekend. Thank you for that. Patricia Hazel. I mean, perhaps I should say Patricia Hazel Hazel. What do you think? You can't call it 2 names Hazel. So you different, same spelling, different pronunciation. What do you think?
I'm gonna go Hazel.
You just have to be contrary. Lord have mercy.
Patricia will correct it for us. I expect her to call to correct it.
Now, Tulu bought me this power
What are you putting me in?
power up Swanston sarsaparilla energizer. I took 2 sips and I started talking in tongues. That's why I'm chatting nonsense, because I took 2 sips of this thing here, and I swear I'm floating.
Talk to reporter about that.
This one here is extra hard sarsaparilla. Jeez, and peas. Oh, okay.
You don't involve me in whatever you're doing.
You bought it.
Please leave me out.
Right, okay. Let me start with this. On Thursday evening, during my wrap up,
Was the brain teaser?
during my wrap up on Thursday evening, those of you who were listening, apparently a few people were quite taken aback, and it caused some stir on both Sinkits and Nevis within the population. And so calls were being made to friends of mine, not to me directly, but friends of mine to say, oh, you need to rein in Daly, because he going too far. You know, he talking about secession and leaning towards secession and all this. And he's, he's not very sympathetic to the present Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, and all kind of things. And I need to be reined in and controlled and whipped,
and whipped too?
and flogged, So, so friends of mine were calling me and messaging me, you have, what do you call it, you tickled somebody's, what you say that?
You ruffled somebody's nest?
Apparently people weren't so happy with my commentary on Thursday evening, as if it bothers me that you don't agree. Sometimes you have to shake the tree to see what falls out, to let people know you're still here and kicking. One thing I do know, friends, even in your worst condition, you never go to somebody on your knees. You go stand up like a man and a woman face to face. You never go on your knees or bending over. Never, ever do that. If you're facing an adversary, no matter how powerful they are, once you know you stand on firm ground, stand up. Face them face to face, eye to eyeball to eyeball, chin to chin. Never go on your knees. And so for all those who want me to go on my knees and who want me to tone down my rhetoric regarding the relationship between Nevis and St. Kitts, regarding the Prime Minister or the matter of secession, I have no apology to make. None. None.
So what was so offensive by you expressing the way you feel about the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis?
Because persons believe that I am speaking for the party.
No, you made it abundantly clear that you're speaking for yourself.
I'm speaking for myself. I have an opinion. I'm at the age now where I have a right to express my opinion. I didn't say my opinion was right or everybody must adopt my opinion. An opinion is exactly that. It's an opinion. And so if you have your opinion that's different to mine, respect mine, I will respect yours. Simple as that.
You never said that you're speaking on behalf of the party. If you had mentioned Thursday that you're speaking on behalf of the party, I would have asked you who gave you such authority to speak on behalf.
I would never overstep my bounds.
Okay. But
if the party has an official position, that is the party's official position.
True.
I'm a party man, and I will toe that line.
And you say you were leaning towards this. You express it.
And I gave reasons why.
Yes.
I remember after the referendum for secession back in the day. What year was 98?
98, I think.
Yeah.
98, 96,
somewhere there. I remember after that, there was a lot of talk. A lot of talk. Groups came in from OECS, groups came in from CARICOM to say they're going to start constitutional reform so that we remain a federation.
Nothing was done.
30 years later,
nothing was done.
Not a single stroke of difference in the constitution. that will give Nevis the kind of recognition that it needs and the kind of access to information that it needs regarding the CBI and all that kind of things. All right? Nothing has been done.
But since that time, Dr. Daly, the present Premier of Nevis ran a campaign on secession for Nevis.
Yes.
And he's the man.
Yes.
Okay. And so everybody else could express their opinion, but not you?
Not me. Because they're saying, I have a platform and people are listening to me and I may unduly influence people's opinions. People are, listen, we are in the business of educating people.
This is it.
You then have to make the decision what is right for you and for your family and what direction you want to go. If you want to believe that secession is the worst thing, that is for you. If you want to believe that secession is the only thing, that is for you. The referendum will determine what the majority would say.
That is so true.
All right, like we had before. And so whether I express a view on secession, I am not voting 10,000 times.
Only once.
Only once.
And you're not voting for me?
And exactly.
Because what you said has not swayed me in any way as to my position when it comes to this matter of secession for Nevis.
Okay.
I voted against it. I will vote against it today.
There's an interesting question asked by Roberta Chapman. And he says, Nevis is free to secede. How come NRP opposed the secession referendum? Here's my thinking. I voted no. I voted no when they had the referendum. Most of my family voted no. Most of my friends voted no. Here was our thinking, Roberta Chapman, that the call for secession was an emotional reaction to something that occurred between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. It was not a serious contemplation. It was an emotional, visceral reaction to a disagreement between the Prime Minister then and the Premier of Nevis. And so they threw in this emotional card called secession. I don't even believe Vance Emery, who was the Premier at the time, voted for it. They were deathly afraid that it would pass because there was no groundwork done. There was no negotiations done. There was no preparation done for us to launch into secession in an amicable, safe, and sustainable way. There are many assets being held jointly between St. Kitts and Nevis. National Bank, Social Security being just two. Then you have the security forces. You have a lot of interplay, overlocking issues that needed to be settled. You don't go to court in a divorce matter and wait for the divorce to come through to start arguing about settlement and who owns what and who should get what. That's part of the negotiations of dissolving a marriage. You don't divorce and then say, well, Tulu owe me $2,000. No, that's part of the settlement. And so we felt, my group of individuals who were looking at this, said, no, we are being used and abused by a government that has failed. And so they pull out this trump card called secession. And it's a hot button topic on Nevis. Because historically, everybody is aware of the narrative that St. Kitts has always treated Nevis as a red-headed stepchild. A red-headed stepchild. And that legacy and that thinking has permeated from generation to generation. And who is at fault for that? The politicians who seek to divide. You remember, that NRP's association with Labour cost us election after election when it comes to results in Bath and certain areas of Nevis, because the then CCM government was using that association with Labour to say, look at them, they embedded Labour. And Labour mash up Nevis, bone in the rice and pepper in your soup. You remember those conversations? Real conversations. And people were, even recently, as early as 2020, Mark Brant's government were using the association between NRP and Labour to convince Nevisians the NRP is bad for Nevis.
Up to 2020.
Up to 2022.
Up to 2022.
So they used it in 2012, they used it in 2015, they used it in 2017, they used it in 2020 and 2022.
They used it way back in 1987 when they started. When they started, that is one of the main plank of the campaign. Was not so much with Labour at that time. We sold out 2 syndicats. That up to when we get to 2013, when they launched Spencer Brand at Boko Park, Vance Army reminded the people of Nevis to stay away from the politicians in syndicats, because the politicians in syndicats do not like the people of Nevis, and reminded them that NRP joined with PAM. 2 years later, the same Vance Army joined a coalition with the very same PAM.
Okay then. You can't make this stuff up. This is history.
But when it comes to the secession issue, on this forefront was URL Swanston. Brother Philip, let's just take the call. We'll come back to that.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon, Dr. Daly. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I have always been saying that the Constitution needs changing. And the reason why I say that is because it was put together to suit the situation at the time.
True.
No. Nevis has an island administration. I think it does not have one. I cannot understand that it has gone on for such a long time, because we do not vote for in the federal elections.
True.
But the Prime Minister is in charge of Sinkis and Nevis. And Nevisians do not vote in the federal elections. So it's about time that Sinkis has its own island administration, as we have. And then you have a federal government where the 2 islands vote for the Prime Minister. And then Nevis will get a chance to vote for the Prime Minister and even have somebody run for Prime Minister. But right now, we can't put anybody to run for Prime Minister. Everything coming from Sinkis. So it needs to change. Or secession.
I agree with
it's
you.
one or the other. Otherwise, we're going to continue down this movie trap that we're going down where Nevis don't have any say, but they rule in Nevis. Sinkis rule in Nevis, but we don't vote for them. You know, it's not good. And it's about time that we look at it properly and not get angry and not get vexed with each other because of politics. It is something that is just out there. How can we have a Prime Minister in charge of Nevis and we do not vote for him? We do not vote for the person. But when they win, they're in charge of Nevis. When they had the last session with Van Zamri, I was in St. Lucia with a netball team for tournament. I left St. Lucia and came to Nevis on a 6 o'clock flight to vote in the secession. And, you know, I want secession because that is what I wanted from the beginning. And I caught an 11 o'clock flight. I went back to St. Lucia only to find out the night that we lost the election. I mean, and I cried, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because it's total nonsense. And if we don't fix it, we're going to be trampled by these people in Sinkit all the time. And everything that Nevis has to do with Sinkit is trampled by Sinkit all the time. As you're saying, look at the Prime Minister. He won the election. He's gone all over the world, and he hasn't even come to Nevis to have a public meeting or a town hall meeting, introduce himself. Yes, we know him. We know he's the Prime Minister, but come, talk to us. You know? Fix the federal office in Nevis. I'm sure people don't even know that there's a federal office in Nevis. You know, this is not good, and it's about time that they hear it and understand it. And it's about time that we people in Nevis understand and stand up for our rights. I think it is time. And NRP needs to do something to get this right. We cannot keep sweeping it under the rug all the time like that. Open our eyes. We need to stand up strong. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. Thank you very much.
The last observation of the caller start there. NRP needs to do something about this. I began earlier before the call came in to say that Brother Philip, Uriel Swanston, Ron Liebert, Harris Liebert, all of those began to form the Nevis Reformation Party with that view of having Nevis independent, something that started under Eugene Walwyn. Now, after the vote came up for secession, I voted against secession for Nevis. I believe that Uriel Swanston voted against secession for Nevis. I believe Brother Philip voted for secession for Nevis. But I sat with them and asked them about this secession thing. And what they said to me, the reason they were talking about secession and they came is because Nevis were treated so bad by Sinkits that they wanted a government for Nevis to control the economy of Nevis. After the independence came in and we got the constitution that gave Nevis substantial self-government, a government and its legislature, they're saying that that is what they wanted. Parry wanted to build upon it and talking about devolution of power, to take more powers into Nevis from Sinkits for us to control more. But as far as Brother Philip and Uriel Swanston they were concerned, the talk about secession needed not to be on the front burner because we have a measure of it in that we wanted self-government. Mr. Parry came in and Mr. Parry said, I want more authority, I want to control education, I want to control the main things that happen in Nevis. And so I believe that is one of the reasons why NRP, when the secession clause come up, you're right, emotional by Van Samry because Van Samry had already declared to be dead meat and he had no interest in it. But because of the emotion and the flagging response of people to CCM, it was a good ploy because Nevisians who are hurting and voting, and then they were still poisoned about the labor relationship with Nevis. And they were poisoned with the PAM relationship with Nevis, all by the CCM party. They still held on to it. And so we have in our hands a lot of what we wanted. Based on the framers and the formal framers of this thing, they're saying, listen, that's what we wanted. We wanted authority now. Brother Philip died, and he was calling for one thing that he didn't get. Said Nevis needed to have a voters list of his own. More control of what's taking place, that we control elections in Nevis rather than elections in Nevis control from Sinkits. That was a vexing issue for him. And I thought about it, and he was absolutely right.
But he never spoke about it.
Well,
anyway, moving on.
You know,
yeah,
we'll talk about it later on.
Yeah.
You know, he was afraid to speak.
The issues are troubling issues. There's so much to speak about when it comes to the evolution of powers. There's so much to speak about what will occur, what will a new state look like, a new relationship look like between Sinkits and Nevis, if Nevis was to secede. Those are conversations that need to be had at another forum. We don't have the time for that today. But let's go get the call again.
This is a hotbed topic.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my friend.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a bit apprehensive, concerned, confused maybe, about exactly where we are in this debate with insofar as the relations between Sinkits and Nevis is concerned. Right? Is there, how would you define it? I mean, how do Nevisians feel about the relationship right now? Do they think it should be different? Is secession the answer, or is devolution of power the answer, or is the status quo the answer? How do you see?
But the status quo cannot be the answer. Number one, that's off the books. The devolution is a step in the right direction.
It's the answer.
And of course, if you go to the extreme, then secession. But it depends on who you speak to and their personal opinions. That is why these things are put
to. That's what I'm saying. I was wondering, is there a pulse? Does anyone have a pulse on the vision?
I don't think right now the mass of the people are informed enough to make a decision as to whether look at the pros and cons, consequences and costs of secession versus staying in this arrangement. What it will mean for us in the political realm, we are seeing things that are not copacetic. We are seeing a control of the electoral process in Nevis from St. Kitts, which we have asked openly, and our leader has asked privately of the Prime Minister to address electoral reform, simple things like that.
Well,
because that will tell me.
Are you saying that in the context of the fact that the Electoral Commission has been appointed, and you notice that really and truly, bear in mind the close relationship between the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, essentially they control what it is. Four of the five, you might say the ruling parties control 5 of the positions.
Yes.
All the positions.
Yeah.
All the positions.
Is that democratic?
No, of course not.
The Electoral Commission was about?
Nope.
Okay, so bearing that in mind, okay, and I'm going to preempt what they may come up with, assuming that they come up with not only boundary changes to increase the number of representatives. Automatically that means now that there would be 5 in Nevis?
4.
4?
Yeah, for the federal, 4.
For the federal?
Yes.
4?
4 in Nevis and
but if you have 4 and then how many in St. Kitts?
2 extra.
We can't have 4 in Nevis.
They said that's what they're saying.
No, but doesn't the Constitution say that there must be a third of the representation in the Federal Assembly?
Well, I'm saying the proposition that I'm hearing is that they're going to put 2 more on St. Kitts and 1 on Nevis.
Okay, so what I'm saying is you have 4 in Nevis, and how many in St. Kitts?
9.
9, okay? 4,
no, 11, sorry, 10.
A total of 13, right?
No, 10, sorry. There's how much now? There's 8 now.
8 now and 3.
Yeah.
Right.
So what they're saying is 10 and 4.
2 in St. Kitts because that would mean
split.
2 in St. Kitts and 1 in Nevis means that how many?
That's 14 total.
That's 14 total.
Yeah.
Do you see?
In a sense.
Do you see? Can't happen.
That makes no sense.
So what I know, but 3 in St. Kitts and 1 more in Nevis?
But that's what I'm saying. That's the quandary we're in. It seems if they're gonna put 4 in Nevis, say, right? Then 4 in Nevis. It can't be just 4 in Nevis. Put it that way, because a third. If that 4 is a third, it means that the assembly should be 12. The Federal Assembly should be 12.
I agree.
And we know would that make sense?
Well, you go from 8 to 12 then.
From 8 to 12? So, isn't that asking for trouble too?
Whatever.
No, because why did you have the odd number in the first place?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't know. But you have to be on the lookout, bearing in mind the close relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 5 in Nevis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 10 in St. Kitts, that's 15, right?
Mm-hmm. You're back to the right proportion. You're back to the right proportion. 1/3.
You're back to the right proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, 5 in Nevis, and 7, 8, 8 and 5, that's 13, and 8 in St. Kitts. Well, that is also acceptable, but it won't be acceptable in St. Kitts.
Nope.
Right? So the closest thing seems to be 15.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
5 in Nevis and 10 in St. Kitts.
But the question is, how are we going to find two? How are we going to find 2 more constituencies in Nevis?
It's easily. It's population, you know.
I understand that.
So they're going to get that done. That easy.
St. John's
We
Bay.
can't. We have to stay within the Constitution as it is.
Yeah.
Right? So it must be 5 in Nevis if they're going to increase the numbers. Right? I mean, is that agreed? It can't just be 4.
No, I believe you're right. I think the math based on the Constitution, I think your projection is right. It has to be a maximum of 15, a minimum of 15. Or odd numbers always work better because then you don't have a tie vote like that so easily.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So but in that scenario, right? You realize what could possibly happen in cases like that. Suppose, for instance, there's and you know how politics is. There might be enemies one day and then friends the next, and vice versa. If there is a coalition of parties that come down to the Federal Assembly with 5 seats, it means then that they just need 3 more to form a government, correct?
From anybody, from any 3 of
from any
3 in St. Kitts,
and
yes.
you realize how, especially in light of our current political environment, the alliances just seem to shift, and you know there are so many machinations and rebellions around. You realize that we could really end up in some kind of, I don't know what you want to call it.
You're right. I don't think the present government on St. Kitts, or even any government on St. Kitts, would want such a close shave as to give Nevis 5 seats and have us control 5 seats while you only need an additional 3 from St. Kitts. I don't think that's going to happen. You're right. That's a can of worms.
All this just screams for some kind of constitutional change, but nobody seems to be talking about that.
Only when it comes to a crisis of conscience, what I call a crisis of conscience, like we are now talking about why persons in Nevis may be gravitating towards secession. Because let's face it, in the last federal election, 2022, even prior to the elections, we were making a lot of noise about electoral reform. Dr. Drew and his government, not this government at this time, and his colleagues in opposition agreed that there needs to be electoral reform, massive electoral reform, especially in regards to Nevis. When they won the elections, the supervisor elections was there, Mr. Bailey was there, and we were saying we do not want him to continue. They put in this new chap, understudied by he was being understudied by Elvin Bailey. And we were saying, no, if you want a free and fair elections, the process at the electoral office must be transparent. It must be accountable. NRP had no view inside of that office. They had nobody there. And every time we showed up, everything became hush-hush. Don't stop. Everybody stopped talking until we left. There are too many skeletons in that office. We know for a fact, and it should that if we had been allowed to prosecute this case, this election petition case, people of Nevis and the world would have seen the evidence that persons, especially from the DR, who have never set foot on Nevis, had voters' cards. How did they get them? We were asking Dr. Drew since then to open up that office for us. No response. No response.
But another vexing thing, Dr. Daly, is the idea that in August...
The caller is still on the line.
Yeah. I want the caller to listen. In August, there was an election in St. Kitts where the regulation said, or the law said, that you must have a government-issued ID to vote in our elections. By December, an election in Nevis, and it changed from that to you do not have to have any ID. Just show up and say that my name is Hensley Daniel, and swear an oath, and you would allowed to vote. The double standard that took place between Dr. Drew's election to office in August and what took place in Nevis in December is a vexing issue for me up to this moment. And they were told, they were informed about what was taking place in Nevis. And up to now, have we gotten a response to them?
We met with the Electoral Commission.
But how no, to be honest, gentlemen, a lot of this is on the NRP, you know. How could NRP just sit back, an official opposition party in the country, sit back, having, I guess you would have written, I don't know if the contact was through letters.
Through letters.
Through letters.
And meetings,
okay.
and meetings.
And get no response, and it stays there.
Let me tell you something.
That don't sound right.
Let me tell you something. All of the matters that I'm telling you now would have formed part of the basis of the case, the electoral petition case, filed by Pat Bartlett and J.D. Keynes. The matter was squashed in a strikeout application. So that matter was never ventilated. All right? And so how is it that we have written, we have itemized all of these complaints, we have said we have no eyes inside that electoral office. We have said put a representative of NRP inside their working, along with the representative CCM. Why is that such a difficult thing to do? Why is that such an insurmountable thing to do? Why?
But what I'm saying is, have you all actually asked for an audience with the Prime Minister?
Dr. Hodge would have met with the Prime Minister.
And
Hensley Daniel, who is here, would have written to the Attorney General, would have written to the Supervisor of Elections, would have written to the Electoral Commission, and nothing.
And was ignored?
Ignored.
No, I mean ignored.
You hear what I tell you? IGNORED. Ignored.
Was there a response?
That just don't sound.
You don't sound right?
It don't sound plausible.
This is why I'm telling you.
If you actually write, you would expect at least some kind of response, even if it is we're going to look into this matter.
Well, I'm telling you, 2 years have passed since you came into power, and this is what he doesn't seem to understand. That he is stoking the fire, he's gaslighting this issue of secession and Nevis by not even responding to those issues that we are talking about now. If he was in our shoes, which he was when he was in opposition, he would have seen a different light. But hey, he's in power now. He has all the aces.
Well, I suspect it's not just a matter that he's in power right now. It might be that, because remember, he's just by a one-seat majority here, and when you really get down to it, and so he's looking for alliances wherever he can find them.
Government is not for the faint of heart, my brother. If you're faint of heart in thinking that you want to be the longest-serving prime minister, you're in the wrong job. You're supposed to do right by the people. When did we lose sight of that? And we are looking for historical, longevity to say we must get 2 and 3 and 4 terms. No. You are there, whether popular or unpopular, to do the right thing by the people of Nevis and St. Kitts.
And there's another vexing thing, Dr. Daly, in that a part of this strikeout, the Attorney General, who was written to about the conduct of the election in Nevis, also applied for a strikeout, and he said that if he did not do it, it would have looked like he's supporting CCM.
Yeah.
So having taken a strikeout against us, it says clearly that the Attorney General would have said to us that he's against NRP.
Anyway.
It's his own mouth. his own mouth who said it, if he did not file as part of that strikeout, it would have looked like he was supporting CCM. So if he's not supporting CCM, who is he supporting?
Gentlemen, what it sounds like to me, right? Because this obviously has implications for the future elections. I think that the NRP should be putting more pressure on the federal government to...
By doing what? By doing what?
Man, if it is one person having to appear in front of a government headquarters with a placard every day for whatever length of time, we should do it.
Okay,
you have to agitate for that.
I'm gonna give you.
If you have the moral right, if you're right morally, then it doesn't matter if you don't get a lot of people.
Here what we're gonna do. Here what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you an NRP shot with an NRP banner, and I'm gonna pay you $1,000 a week to stand in front of Church Street.
I'm not a member of the NRP.
We'll make you honorary member. Don't worry.
Honorary member. I'm not affiliated with any political party.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the Barnsley High School next. So I hope you call back because I want to hear your view on it.
On Barnsley High School, okay.
All right, cool.
All right, cool.
All right, thank you all for that interaction there. It took longer than I thought it would.
It's a vexing issue.
It's a vexing issue. It's a lot to talk about. But I think, hey, the first step of 1,000 miles, well, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. We need to have this conversation.
And to solve this problem, I think it should have been from the beginning. Single should have its own government.
Okay.
Its own island administration.
It's about time.
Nevis has its
1983 to now? Come on.
This way it should have started.
We need to get beyond this nonsense called its constitution. You know, it was a quick fix, and it's now time to get a permanent fix into this
thing. But really, we hold to the Constitution when it suits us.
Of course.
Because the Constitution has a revenue sharing mechanism in it. We are not abiding by that. But we make sure that we hold to the Constitution in appointing these commissioners that they appointed last week. This is what the Constitution says. And so they hold tight to that. But the vexing issue of revenue sharing between Sinkers and Nevis, nobody's looking to the Constitution and say, this is what the Constitution says, and this is what we must abide by.
You got a World Bank. Wait for the World Bank.
We got to the World Bank.
Wait for the World Bank report.
You move on for that.
Good afternoon, Danny. How are you?
Good afternoon, and Kelly, I'm happy to be here, but you know how many funerals are held on Saturdays. You know, there is a...
Could you bring your mic down, please?
Yeah. I just want to shout out a cousin of mine, the Idita Daniel. She lives in the United States. You may have heard about the hit and run incident in St. Kitts. That person is my cousin.
Sorry. I didn't put on your camera. Go ahead.
So that person is my cousin. So I want to shout out Idita. And I hope in the hit and run, Kelly, I don't know what you find first, whether the hit or the run. But I hope they find who did this. And then this morning I'm learning that Miss Williams there at Prospect.
Oh, jeez. Go ahead.
This is passed away, Gail's aunt, you know. So,
you always come with these.
No, it's just that they
dead
have,
notices, boy.
No,
boy.
You have all these condolences.
A part of the process.
Well, that's why I tell you, keep a party, let me celebrate.
Do the slide a bit.
You know.
To the side for me. I'll go in. Yeah, slide back. Sorry, you're a little bit off camera.
Oh, and just to say, Kill, that last week...
You're going the wrong direction.
Last week...
You told me go that way.
Sorry.
Let me submit to this.
Last week we were talking about the polarization and the whole political tribalism and so on. And you'd believe that the Human Development Report for 2023, published by the United Nations Development Program, it says that, and I suppose you said that so many times, there is a focus on me before we in the world. surveying 173 countries. And then it says, we are at an unfortunate crossroad. Polarization and distrust are on a collision course. So, you know, just to say to the listeners from the diaspora in America, all of our friends all across who are listening to us, that the things we say on this program here, Kel, are actually what is being endorsed or validated by international agencies. So when you hear us speak, listen up.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, the big news out of St. Kitts, well, one of the big news out of St. Kitts is the proposed Bastia High School. It's only fair that we cover some of the news coming out of St. Kitts, since it is the metropole and it's all our money. All right, so the new Bastia High School, the model is up on Facebook and it's all around the place. I have not been able to, of course, cruise through the model because it's in two dimension. And normally when you have these kind of modeling, you're able to navigate throughout the entire buildings and see how the classrooms are set up and the labs are set up and stuff like that. But what I'm seeing is, and what I'm hearing is a $190 million project for a replacement school for Bastia High School. Presently, the Bastia High School students are spread around 7 campuses, different buildings, and so they need a home. The question is, do they need a $190 million home? All right? This has always been a political football. Just like most things in this region here, everything is political. The movement of Bastia High School, in the first instance, was political. For 7 years, the team unity government was there. They could not get it solved. They had proposed for the aquifer, an $80 million project. There was a lot of talk about not building on the aquifer, despite the fact that there are industrial sites on the aquifer. And there are homes on the aquifer. So people are throwing all sorts of emotional arguments into the mix. And, you know, if you wanted to support the Bastia High School move to the aquifer, you had reasons to support it. You're going to say, well, the water table is 400 meters down. It's not going to interfere, blah, blah, blah. If you're against it, you're going to say the aquifer will be affected.
You say 10 feet.
Right. So it's all neither here nor there when it comes to argument. But this new dispensation, the $190 million, what I'm reading, project, I have not been able to verify the figure. I have not heard Dr. Drew or the Minister of Education, Jeffrey Hanley, speak about the cost. So if somebody can verify the $190 million, I appreciate that. But the question though is this Bastia High School $190 million project a distraction or a reality? $190 million is a lot of money. Because the government then, the question you must ask then, where would the government find the money? If they had to go, or decided to go to the Saudi fund to borrow $40 million for Skelec, US, and they went to the Saudis for another $20 million for geothermal for Nevis, and they're going all over the place begging money, it means therefore, and of course we have the new hospital, the new smart hospital that's coming online. So you're talking about a lot of debt that's being incurred in a very short period of time. And the question, of course, most obvious question, if the projections that people have about what's in the CBI fund is so large, why are we going around borrowing that money they have to pay back? I don't know the answer to that because I don't know how much money is in the fund. People are speculating billions. Some are saying not so much. I don't know. All right? It's a secret, top secret. Now, if it's a distraction, what is Dr. Drew's distraction all about? Is it increasing murder rate on St. Kitts? Is it the fact that he has cut back on the social safety net programs, the Pay for Peace, the PAP? Are those distractions enough to warrant a $190 million project? I don't know. Is it reality? Is it genuinely going to happen? I don't know. Because politicians are known for not being totally honest as to when things are going to happen. If you are a Labourite, you're going to say it's going to happen. If you're not a Labourite, you're going to say, it's just more distraction. So it's again become a political football. Any way you cut it is a political football.
When Joseph Parry told me this is going to happen, it happened.
Well, okay. Now, the thing about it is this. What people are arguing is that if you are going to singularly invest $190 million into one high school, as modern as it is, what about Keon High? What about Washi? What about the other schools, the primary schools that feed into the high schools that need urgent attention? Isn't it better, people are arguing, listen, cut back on that extravagant development and use whatever else money to fix up Keon High, fix up the primary schools, and so everything moves together at once. It's a logical argument. I can't argue with that thinking. Because I can't imagine why you would need a $190 million high school, a singular $190 million high school, when CFB is busting at the seams that need a new campus. When I was there as president, one of the first things I recognized, CFB cannot go anymore. It has reached its physical limits. And so with the help of Camille Kelly, we designed a new campus. They didn't, at the time, I think it was about 70 million US dollar campus, with all the faculties included, up there at yeah, right? And so the argument is, why not invest in a world-class university? That is where the training needs to be. If we are going to ready our people for being competitive in a curriculum-free movement environment, shouldn't we be investing that class of money in a tertiary level institution? Or some people are arguing the weakness in our education system is actually at the primary school. So why not inject that money into the primary school so that kids coming into the secondary schools are reading at level? At level, because once you get in that environment from a primary school and you're reading 3 and 4 grades below level, guess what? You will not catch up. Right. You will fall to the cracks, and that is a conveyor belt that's feeding criminal behavior. Yeah. And people need to understand the link between criminality and our education system.
Failing. The thing is, Kel, that you see, education and health requires long-term planning, and you must use the data that you have. In listening to you clearly, the data is showing that at the primary school level, we are having trouble with reading, we are having trouble with mathematics. So a program ought to be, one, addressing, coming in from primary, secondary, up to tertiary, and one program must be about the physical restructuring, reorganizing, rebuilding. That's the physical part. The most important part about education and so on is the programming. So if you build a new school, Kelly, and you don't have new programs in there, and you don't have trained teachers in there, and you don't have additional technical offerings and so on. So the idea is not just on the structure. The structure is one part of the program. The other one has to do with the philosophical development of education. So I think, as you say, if we take a long-range view, okay, for the physical structure, we need to build a Basti High School. We certainly need to build a Basti High School, but we need to also renovate all those primary schools, outfit them with internet and different things, and make the thing modern. So you have the physical, you have the programmatic nature, and of course, you can't begin to do anything unless, Kel, we come here a few times very well, and up to yet we don't get that information, you know. We talk about, you were just alluding to it, that the number of people who drop out of the system, that the people need to understand is inside the crime and violence take root among that large number who drop out. We still need to know, this is 2024, how many students went to high school in 2019 and what percentage of them succeeded in 2024 and what happened to the rest of them. We are looking at half of the students.
Let me ask a question. This matter of Bastille High School has been on the front burner
10 years.
Especially during the team unity government reign from 2015 to 2022. They even went and got models done and blah, blah, blah. Before that, of course, it was a political football under Dr. Douglas, where people like Mark Brandon and them were throwing blows at the former prime minister and saying, people are in a toxic environment, people are getting sick, blah, blah, blah. Right? Moving on from that. You now have this spectacle of $190 million being spent or allocated. Otherwise, I'm going to use that figure until somebody tells me different. So you have this huge allocation of $190 million for a proposed high school. You have 3 members from Nevis in the federal cabinet, federal parliament. You have a leader of the opposition in the federal parliament. The leader of the opposition is the premier of Nevis. If the shoes were on the other foot, or if there was a different prime minister, you'd have heard that leader lift up his frock and cuss everybody. Oh, why are you going with a junk of money there? Karen don't need a high school, and, a well-needed ventilation of the matter. A well-needed ventilation of the matter. Because when it comes to expenditure, you remember the premier being the leader of the opposition is also the chair of the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes.
That's where all the money is accounted for.
That's why it shouldn't be the two.
Right? And so you have a silence in the opposition being led by the leader of the opposition.
Silence.
Because he's so busy begging for his supper. He cannot dare put himself out there to challenge this $190 million project. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. The people of Sinkers said they want a high school, they will decide that by voting for who they want to vote for, to support it or not to support it. But the job of the opposition is to say to the people of Sinkers and Nevis, we have examined this, and this is where we disagree, and this is how we believe that money can be better spent. We don't support this idea of centralizing all these resources into one high school when the other high schools needing help, when the other primary schools needing help. What are you covering yourself for? Is it that you're trying to hide the fact that you gave yourself a pay raise? That you cut back on PAP? You cut back on the pay for peace? Are you hiding behind the fact there is no increase in murder rates? Are you trying to hide behind these distractions?
No.
Or are you genuinely thinking that the $190 million project is the way to go?
It's to fulfill a promise made.
You can do it with $10 million, $20 million.
Well,
I look at the design, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it one bit. Too many corners, too many places for children to hide, too many squares. Listen, I visited a high school in Trinidad called Waterloo. And that's where we used to mark CXC papers. Every time I went to Trinidad, that's where we mark papers. And it was in the shape of a horseshoe. Or put it away in a rectangle with an open end. The administrative end was right here by the opening. And 3 floors of classrooms circled the rectangle. Bathroom was on the outside of that. There was no place for students to disappear. No place. And everything was covered with CCTV cameras except the bathrooms. Classrooms, libraries.
And there were smart toilets and
smart toilets, everything. And so these highfalutin designs are more suited to colder climates, American climates, where you have winter and summer. And you have to be able to open your windows. Well, they don't, in the school I went to in the high school, they didn't open windows. They had central air. But when the power goes off here, you have to have windows that can open.
Trinidad has oil.
Right? So the point is, it must be functional, but it also must be practical in terms of ease of administration. I'm seeing also the indoor basketball court and So what can happen? People from Washington, Hartlepool, going to come to Boston High School play indoor basketball. I mean, there's some things in there that, anyway, in my design, right? I see Tanya Power said the design is a U.S. design as of a high school. That's similar to my high school. Have inside gym, cafeteria, etc., etc. Yes, it is American design. It looks like an American design. We have now moved in the Federation into this cuboid type design. When people are building their houses cuboid, I think it looks good. But that's your house. You can choose what you want. But for a practical function in high school, this is not it.
Yeah, but Kel, there's something which is always bothering me. We in the Caribbean, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If it is that you have a high school like that, which is functional and good design, well, before we design anything, before we do anything, we could take a look at these things, you know, because I am always amazed that we go and we build, and then we realize. You realize, Kel, by the time you put up a building, if a building takes 2 years or 3 years to put up, you realize by the time it's 3 years, the technology changes. A lot of the designs and everything have moved on, have been advanced. So my position is that in the Caribbean, we have a lot of talent. We have good examples to follow. Why is it so difficult for us to go down to Trinidad or anywhere else where they have a good high school and where they build them, as you like to say, the smart high school, see how they do it, and see if we may save millions of dollars.
The only thing I want in a smart high school are smart boards.
You mean the whiteboards?
The whiteboard, the smart boards, the electronic boards. That's the only thing I want smart.
Yeah.
All right?
Electronics.
The windows must be able to open.
Naturally.
Naturally, yeah. All right?
You know,
your bathrooms must be stainless steel. Your toilets must be stainless steel.
Yeah.
All right? I mean, your labs, of course, the granite tops, regular.
Labs,
you don't need anything complicated.
No, but you see...
You don't need anything complicated.
You know, the most important thing, Kel, with a school is that you are creating an environment for learning. So what you need to do is to make it easy to learn. I remember while we were in government, we were giving permission to start a marina. And the people in the planning unit tell us that they don't think, some people say they don't think so. And I asked the question, well, Tartola has the same kind of topography like Nevis, St. Martin. They have a set of them down there. Anybody went and look and see and so inform themselves? No. We just said, no, or don't do it. And I am just amazed that with all this talent in the Caribbean, we just go and reinvent the wheel. We bring some people from America.
All right.
You know.
We're moving on because time is stretching out and we have a lot to talk about.
If you're borrowing their money, you're going to them for money.
Right.
They're going to give you what you have. When you look at the Malcolm Richard Park, I've never been there, but look at it outside. Whenever I see it, I see China and Taiwan and the places out there. I don't say anything. They give you the money,
and
they give you the design, you design it like what they want. So
right.
maybe this is a case.
All right, moving on. Now, one thing that's prevalent across the island of Nevis, and I've driven, when my brother Denny was here, and he mentioned it to me, and my friend Gus also mentioned it to me. If you're going to Bath, Brown, every community, Craddock Road, anywhere, what do you notice? One of the things you notice. You notice anything, Tulu?
A whole lot of things.
A lot of things. But notice one thing when you drive through again. The large amount of abandoned houses.
Up to yesterday, I had a
A
conversation
large
about that.
every community. And they've been abandoned for years. Years on top of years. Yet, we have a housing crisis. Yet we have a housing crisis. Too many persons want houses. And the government says they have no stock. They have no housing stock to share with anybody. But here's my thinking.
Buy them out.
Here's my thinking. The owners of these properties have not paid any property taxes for them for a long time. They've moved on. Some people can't even find them. If the case exists that government, the taxes owed on the property.
Bona vacanza.
That's what it's called.
Bona vacanza.
Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yes, good afternoon. About that school, right?
Yes.
I think you hit the nail on the head initially when you said it started out by being in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And up to this day, it still is. And I think that is clouding the vision that you have, and which I share, and I'm sure a lot of other people share, that really and truly we should be going for a state-of-the-art tertiary institution, right, rather than spending that amount of money on a high school, right? If we want to increase access, etc., because we're still down in the teens, I think.
Yes.
So, right. That's where we need to focus. And I remember I started teaching at Sandy Point High School. And I remember it being a problem because parents then everybody wanted to send a child to Bastille High.
Mm-hmm.
Because, ostensibly because they had better facilities, better teachers, better everything. You build a state-of-the-art high school now. What's going to happen to the rest? How long do you think it's going to take to build state-of-the-art high schools in the other areas, the rural areas? Right? I thought we were aiming at egalitarianism in education. This is going to do the opposite, and as such, it's a regressive step.
Yes.
Yeah, you know?
Yes.
We after coming so far, all the high schools are pretty much on par.
Mm-hmm.
There is very little
Access.
worry about whether your child will get a good education at any one of the high schools. We are going to do this because, like you too, I look at the building, and the first thing I think, this is everywhere going to be air conditioned. This is going to cost not just a lot to build, but a lot to maintain.
That's right.
Which draws resources from the other schools, you know? And I don't think they're looking at that. So basically, and of course, what's not lost too, it's going to feed areas like Bird Rock and Newport Site and Frigate Bay. What message does that send?
Elitism, right? Elitism.
Exactly. Right? So like I said, they probably won't rethink it. As far as they're concerned, kept the Bastille High School going. And even the fact that they've put a drawing. I remember we had a drawing similarly in the last government, you know, and nothing became of it. Mm-hmm. I think this time they said they're going to fund it by the CBI. Now, if the inflows, which suggests that it's going to be, its fortune is going to be subjected to the inflows in the CBI, which could take a very long time to finish construction. So there are a lot of things that they should really look at. But like I said, because politics is involved, it's probably likely that the deal is done. Like I said, I prefer a state-of-the-art college. What I was thinking was that use the existing college facilities as another Bastille High School,
exactly.
Spend some money, upgrade all the high schools to the same level. I mean, the existing college facilities is better than what is in the Bastille High School right now anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? And upgrade the other high schools, but keep the same level, and everybody, whole nation, benefit from a state-of-the-art college.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That's what should happen if they were thinking, right? But like I said, it's the politics that is crowding the vision. So I honestly don't expect anything other than what's going to happen to be built. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the way we do things around here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I'm not going to listen to anybody.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right. So we were talking about the derelict houses around the island of Nevis, and there are hundreds of them, literally hundreds. Different state of disrepair. different conditions. Some of them just need to be knocked down and rebuilt on the land. But there needs to be conversations between Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation and the owners of these properties, between the NIA and the owners of these properties, to say, listen, we are facing a crisis of home ownership. There are persons that desirous of homes in their communities. Persons in Charleston don't want to go live in Maddens.
But they are told to.
But they have to, because that's where the houses are. Right? Persons in Brownhill don't want to go to Cotton Ground, but sometimes that's where the houses are. But their houses abandoned in Brownhill, their houses abandoned in Cotton Ground, and people are moving here and there just to be in a home. And so why not start a program? Right? Why not do, what do you call it now? Alternate housing scheme, where these properties are taken in by Nevis Housing Land Development Corporation, with the understanding that they're going to use local labor within those communities to rehab these properties so people can have homes. This, I think, will go a long way in keeping people in their preferred communities, and to build those communities and to remove those eyesores all in one go. What do you think, Tulu?
I suggest that there could be a negotiations where you give persons, some of these persons, what you call a soft loan, to develop the property up to the for rental, and then they pay it back with a small interest, and so that becomes part of the housing stock. Not take away mine, because right now I know somebody who has one, and they want it developed to the point where they could rent it, but they are not financially viable to do it. Okay, and so if they had a soft loan, that property will come available to somebody who is looking for.
But that wouldn't meet the specifications I'm thinking about.
The option is to buy out the properties, and some people may well want to sell. If you buy the properties, then they become the property of the Land and Housing Corporation, and then you can get them to do a housing, and maybe you need to change different models. Sometimes you may have apartment style buildings in some places. You may have
let me tell you something, right?
So the idea is for the Land and Housing Corporation to get aggressive in owning some more
Not only aggressive, they need to get some vision.
Well, that's what it is.
As to address this housing stock shortage we have.
But people are not going to take it lightly for any institution to come to say, hey, you have this abandoned property there, we're going to pay X, Y, and Z and take it over and use it. People are going to take lightly to that.
Listen, if your building is an eyesore, where weeds and everything is deteriorating the neighborhood. But listen, anytime you have deterioration in the community, the whole community suffers. Mm-hmm. You can't have persons building up nice houses and you have this derelict property there. Right? You have to do something with it. If you can't do something with it, then the government will do something with it.
So give me a soft loan, let me do something.
No, I'm not going to give you a soft loan. You want a soft loan, you go to bank. But the reason why the property is not fixed, because you have no money.
That is true.
So why should I give you money to charge somebody's rent? No, that make no sense. So we will buy the property from you at a market price. We'll renovate the property and sell it to all home people who wants housing.
In some cases, you have 4 or 5 acres of land, you know. In some cases, you have 2, 3, 4 acres of land with one piece of property in it. So if you buy 4 acres of land, you could do what? How many houses you could put there? 10, 12, you know?
Listen, if you're going to build communities on Nevis, stable, sustainable communities,
you have to do it inside the community.
You have to put the inputs in the community.
Inside the communities.
All right? So, let's move on.
I think Mr. Perry's vision of doing townhouses was a great vision. When you realize that land becomes scarce, becoming scarce, you start to build up and go up in the air, but it was something that was marked.
Anyway, that's what it's called. Good afternoon, on target.
Yes, good afternoon, Stanley. Good program.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going, where we're heading. It's a burning shame to know, right? in the 20th century going on away now where we heading? Huh? When this thing is right? Right to Mr. Hensley is talking about you're going to go rent here, rent there, rent people place, and so much of government place there, abandoned and so. And then what happened to them? They went they call it Cambridge and all kind of bridge, and nobody use the brains. In the rest so in them time, they renting here, look at Church Street. That place abandoned now forward. Look so high. Look down there by the churchery again. No board name, a pretty piece of paper on it to make it look ship shape. People got to walk in the middle, into the side of it, we're going to the traffic there. I don't know where they're doing, what they're doing. They got a lot of government house here. What other people look like they sell out some, but we have more. But yeah, they're going renting, and, you know, all of the, oh my God, come up the village. I am calling the place, all the church and all get rent. No, what's going on? Church and all get, oh my God. I ain't even know nothing about money in school, but that shouldn't be. Just as you were saying, people, you said here, it's a period of vision. But what I'm to this, they ain't got none. And let me tell you, he was saying because what happened, my grandmother from up there, my mother born in it, but my grandmother from up there, my father mother from up there, cotton ground. Me was saying, can't go, I don't want to, but you know, there's something, you know, we got to make a decision still. With what's going on. The man just giving people some 6.9. Well, I'm to have the government down here, you know, I get to report all at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And saying they ain't going to march Monday because so. What happened? We the investors, we used to call them 2, 3, 4 in the morning. They dead? Are they gone out, they gone in, what do you call it, in hiding? So they know investors will call me all at 2, 3 in the morning and we're going to get this. You know what happened down here right now, man, if you heard about it, you know. All the lady met me the other day, tell me, Mr. Book on Sunday, you know. Because they ain't getting no overtime. So when I take it back from me people, man, they go got people fly you 55,000 dollars, so, we call it first class thing, and the person ain't in bad thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I may be a little behind, a little in front, but it seems as though we ain't going to see the country go down good. We want to head up to like the 80th story, you know. Because people getting mad if I the young, that cause a confusion, you know. Because ain't like what's going on.
I'm glad you're not.
Boy, you're just flying out over when they bring him back to us. What it is. We ain't seen, you know, what somebody can post to me. Man, not construction going on. What really happening, nothing happening. For the 2 years, of fly. A private jet too, no?
Well, you get in the Basel High School just a moment, so don't make no noise.
Huh?
You're going to soon get the Basel High School $190 million.
Boy, Basel High School, I suppose we've done big in long time.
Jesus.
That was just a fraud you talk about. And hey, don't talk when I hear it. About the mayor say, the person talk about that, I hear the boy out the hole on your tongue. This was the Trinidad. The chap does this thing, they used to sell coconut, well, but now they say that they're buying all about there's something flat.
Okay.
You better look for the song before you go and put it on the mail.
All right, thank you,
darling. They know they're buying up more load of things. Some people refuse to come to this country. Where we heading?
All right, darling.
Condition, you know?
Thank you very much for calling. All right, so that was the housing issue. We're moving on really quickly because we got so much more to cover. Oh, we got another call, Lord. Who is this?
We'll default to the callers.
Good afternoon, on target. Good afternoon, on target. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Ivan.
How are you guys doing?
We are fine, thanks.
Good, good, good. Let me see if I can differ a little bit here. Put a little something in there. I say if you're going to do something, you do it good.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to come up to speed. I know you guys don't feel they should spend this money for the high school. Maybe, as you say, maybe why not the CFB? But whatever they're going to do, they should do it to the best of their ability that it can last. I don't care if you're going to last those 2 years. Do it good. You can't go backwards. So if they're going to build, and they know where the money is coming from, nobody going to come to pick up the high school and take it on a ship and take it off when they don't build it. Go and build it properly. I hear you guys are saying about AC. Yes, we should have AC. The hospitals should be in AC. Schools in AC. I see people every funeral like sit down there by the fanning. It's about time that we get up to speed. So if these guys are going to get an AC school, forget about the others that you're talking about now. Bring them up to speed. Get up to care and the mileage, the point, whatever it is. But don't knock down these guys for trying to bring things up to speed.
Well, let me stop you there. Nobody's knocking down nobody, you know. We are giving information. People are going to decide for themselves what is worth the money or not. All we're doing here is giving information. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, but I'm not just knocking you. Callers coming in and saying these things.
That is the opinion, Ivor. You have yours, and they have theirs.
And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I am rooting for the other side, say, let's go and do it properly.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Now, we're moving on real quickly. Where are we now? Okay. So Nesbitt Plantation update. I've done some research, and you remember the deal to sell Nesbitt for $3.5 million US?
Yes.
That was in the court some time ago. We were under the impression that the deal had been consummated, that the deal had been made, and what I've been told is that there's no deal.
That's what I've been told.
What I'm being told is that the buyer, and don't have no money.
Because where all these broke people come from in Nevis? Why are they in Nevis?
Give me a second.
Lord have mercy, we have enough broke people here. Where they going again?
Give me a second.
Come on, bring your money and invest. Come on.
You finished?
Yes. I am. I just got to step on that there a little bit.
Okay.
Totally you agreed with me, right?
I'll listen to both of you.
All right. So, the bank, of course, remember in the negotiations for the sale of the property, the bank who holds the mortgage commissioned this evaluation study by Brands Architectural Services. It came back at $8 million US. I remember the deal
was
$3.5 million.
3.5.
So Brands was $5 million more than what the proposed selling price was. But what I've been told is that the monies owing to Social Security, Water Department, NEVLEC, and Indian Revenue in back taxes was to be included, or were to be included
in that deal.
That
makes sense,
right? As it stands now, the persons couldn't come up with the money. Another broke ass person let me take back that and apologize. My apologies for saying broke ass. I ain't. Let's take this call.
Typical doctor.
Good afternoon. You're on target.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm calling from Tinkin.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I hear you talking about your terminal. I hear you talking about the school. I hear you talking about secession. But I born in Tinkin, but we try to come from Nevis. I'm a free man.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to get to secession because I understand this is in the watchman toilet. They call him for it. But if a man ain't getting good treatment from his partner, he got always to pull out. You understand? Which part of call it a pooper with the water business now? I work on the estate until the sugar close.
Call job. Anyway, I guess
go
you
ahead,
call
let's
back.
see what you're saying about the Nesbitt.
Yeah, the Nesbitt matter
Sorry, Kel, I was going to ask. The initial thing is 3 and 8. Do you have a sense of where the real thing is?
The real thing is 8.
No, I mean the 8 as opposed to 3. Any alternate evaluation which brings it?
There's only one evaluation done from commission by the bank, and it's $8 million. $8
million.
$8 million done by Brandon Architectural Service. I saw the evaluation. It's very comprehensive.
Right. And in relation to the property, Kill, you have how many acres?
29, almost 30 acres.
30 acres, and you have about what? 30 properties nearly?
There's a lot of properties on there, a lot of buildings.
And where they have the seafront thing there.
So $8.5 million US dollars.
To me, that's reasonable.
All right. And so it's kind of eye-catching that the valuation was not taken into consideration when the court proceedings were going on. Nobody put that on the table. Neither the bank owners, nor the property buyers, nor the sellers. Nobody wanted to discuss it. So it made it seem kind of onerous. So that, like something on the table is going to happen. So
under the table?
Over the table. All right. So we had this broke man come down here making a lot of noise. When I looked at the profile of the gentleman, he had, brilliant profile. Buildings bought in Washington and renovated, bed and breakfasts all over the place. And you would say, man, this guy got some cash.
Until you find
Until when it time to deliver the cash, there's no money. That's why you have to be careful and do your due diligence about these people, because they come with the most brilliant portfolios, and you look at it and you say, oh man, this is great. And you don't dig down beneath the reeds and realize, boy, this boy here got more debt than the Bank of the Neves Island government. And the concessions to the gentleman were so
generous,
comprehensive, that if he had the money, he would have
definitely
grab it.
Kel, here the problem. We established the Four Seasons in 91 with the kind, and is the Nevis people fault by not continuing the government? Because the Four Seasons people, they had to buy their own land. Then they brought their own money. We were setting the tempo, Kel, that look, if you want to develop, and in addition to that, we set a standard where there is upmarket tourism, which is really intended to keep the broke people them off the mark out of in here. So when you're developing properties, you should reach close enough to the Four Seasons model or to the Four Seasons standard and quality. But most importantly, they brought their money, Kel. They brought their money, and they bought the land. They buy the private land.
The thing about
so we set the standard already.
The thing about is this. I think there was some requirement at some point in our history that if you are going to invest, you had to put down a percentage in escrow. Yeah. What became of that?
Yeah, that, and also there's another proviso which gives you a performance date, saying that if you get you have all these comprehensive concession scale. If you can't just get them and walking around with your pocket. But you know what some of them have done? Come, get the concessions, walk around with the concessions in their pocket to go to people, go to financial institutions and say, hey, lend me some money because I have this.
MSR came here without money.
Okay. Oh, no.
Okay. MSR came here.
So they was broke as the 10
on
commandments.
their knees.
Broke as the 10 commandments.
And our government
bail them out.
We must stop in 2 years over $10 million.
No, man.
You understand what I'm telling you?
Black people bailing out countries where come from.
Anyway.
No, but is the fact, it's who you're dealing with.
Let me say something about the land, the housing, alternate housing scheme I was talking about. There's a model for it, You know what the model is? Here it is. Get close to your to your phones and your smart devices. You remember about just after 2017, or just before 2017 elections, Mark Brantley and them bought the Huggins property at Bath Hill.
Yes.
For over $1 million. I think it was 7 acres with some buildings on it.
Yeah.
For $1 million. The owners had owed some taxes, and so they deducted that from the value, and they paid about $1 million for it. With the idea that property is going to be used to build a premier's residence.
Yes.
So there's precedent for the government to be buying properties on behalf of the people. So they bought that property there for the premier. Mm-hmm. So they can buy a house in Cotton Ground and one in Barsgott and one in Jessup for the people. Right. The same way, the same investment.
And it also can link to that is the principle of bona vacantia, which says
we
that...
can't talk Italian.
No, it's not Italian, it's Latin.
Well, we can't talk Italian.
What I say is that if you haven't paid your land taxes for a certain number of years, the government can take your property.
Well, you go to Parliament, but then go to Parliament to pass a law.
Well, yeah, and then what happens is that the government doesn't do that. The government can say, okay, mind you, we can take the land, you know. But since we're not going to take the land, this is the deal.
Listen,
you know?
Here we go.
We have a government who invests in what benefits them. The premier invested in that property because he had in mind to develop a premier's ministry for him to live.
Premier's residence.
They daily beat him out of that. We had land up at Barsgott that was available that the government could have bought for the expansion of Barsgott. Yes. The government made sure that a client of somebody in the government bought out all of the lands. And the argument, I think, came from the premier is that the land was too expensive and that the government couldn't afford to buy those land that expensive. And so somebody came and bought out of the lands. Now he's saying that he's going to be buying land somewhere to expand. Why? Because who has benefits deriving from that establishment, Hamilton Bank and whatever it is up there? Okay, you look in the government and see who stood to benefit. And so they made sure that they invested where they stand to benefit.
We got
just one last question on this bit. Where are we now?
We are in a holding pattern. There's no movement. The property is still for sale.
So if you find a buyer, we could go there and buy it?
Yes.
I heard Sunday, it was Sunday, I heard about it for the first time. We had a conversation. I picked up somebody heading from church, and conversation developed between somebody else I had. And the person said, when we passed it, the person said, the place is not sold. I said, I mean it's not sold. After he said, listen, the place is not sold. There was nothing done from the beginning. But somebody in Nevis who has clothes has an interest in buying it, who has the money to flip it. The problem we're struggling here is because of daily thing. The airport expansion seems to be on life support. And so it's held up there. Based on information that I've gotten, somebody in Nevis is interested in buying it to flip it.
All right. Moving on really quickly. Tonya Powell had to ask about any update in agriculture, specifically the boil processing.
Kelly's, you're the scientist. You talk, you're the one talking.
Tonya, my love,
you talk on that.
I have to disappoint you once again. There's nothing.
Tonya not surprised.
There's nothing there.
Tonya is not surprised. I'm sure Tonya is not surprised.
Let's go to the call.
It's disappointing though.
No.
Good afternoon, on target.
That's when you expect things.
Sorry.
Hello?
I'm sorry to come in here, but I was trying to get back after I spoke first.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that we just spoke about secession or Nevis island government in Nevis and an island government in St. Kitts. And people seem to be sticking on secession. What about the other one? The other one can work if it's set up properly.
It's better.
And it's better than secession.
Yeah, it's better.
But nobody is talking about that. How could we have a Nevis Island administration? And what? Federal government is a St. Kitts government?
Yes.
St. Kitts don't have any government.
It operates like a St. Kitts government, though.
Yeah, everybody keeps talking about St. Kitts government. We have a federal government, and we have a Nevis Island administration. Put a Nevis Island, change the constitution, and make it possible for St. Kitts to have its own administration.
Okay.
Agreed.
I cannot stress on that anymore.
Right.
I want to be able to vote for the Prime Minister in the federal government.
Okay. I hear you loud and clear.
I want to be able to run in the federal government for office.
I hear you loud and
And
clear.
we can't do it as it is now. Nevis is at the bottom, getting licked from St. Kitts all the time. We need to change it. and understand that there are two things, secession or an island government in St. Kitts, and we have an island government in Nevis. Then you have a federal government responsible for the big things.
Okay.
People must understand this, and if you don't understand it, it's going to stay the same way it is all the time.
All right.
Continue to preach it. Continue to preach it till they catch on.
All I say is that the reason why we are saying this is that we have an incompetent government that is mashing up Nevis.
All right, we're moving on.
So this is
gentlemen, we are moving
Let's go.
on.
Let's go. We're going.
All right. There is no movement on the processing plant, agro-processing plant. There is no movement on the acquisition of land to house farmers down there at Webb's estate. So there's no movement whatsoever. But your question prompted me, and it's a good thing I walk with my my documents here from the budget address of 2023 and the budget address of 2024. All right. On page 14 of the 2023 budget address by Mark Brantley, item 4.4, it says advances in the agriculture sector. Advances in the agriculture sector. All right? I want to read to you something. Bear with me a bit. Madam President, the St. Kitts and Nevis Agriculture Growth and Transformation Strategy is the driving force for the advancement of our agriculture sector. This is a 10-year strategic plan conceptualized at the federal level designed to tackle challenges facing the agriculture sector by providing a common vision, formulating guiding principles, and framing solutions for sustainable and resilient agri-food systems. The federal strategy is also in keeping with the current mandate of our own Ministry of Agriculture to ensure food and nutrition security for all. To be self-sufficient, we must position ourselves to feed ourselves. This was a critical lesson learned during the period of the recent pandemic. Our mandate has therefore shifted from merely ensuring food security to that of achieving food sovereignty. Food sovereignty refers to the right of people to have access to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, along with their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. All right? In light of this, the agriculture sector will continue to be one of the most prominent sectors of our focus of our administration during the fiscal year. We must laud the efforts of our vegetable and livestock farmers for their outstanding contribution to the continued growth and development of the sector. Madam President, to supplement the supply of meat products on the island, we will continue to advance our efforts at establishing a poultry industry on Nevis. This concept is driven primarily by the fact that when we examine our imports of chicken products, we recognize that during the 2022, a total of 519,000 pounds of chicken and chicken byproducts at an estimated value of 1.5 million were imported. Madam President, we are convinced that the benefits of eating locally produced foods will positively impact changes in our consumption patterns, and the desire of our residents to eat more healthily will be driving force to success. Yada, 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 yada. Going down, he said the development of a hatchery on Nevis will also be encouraged. He said, who can encourage it? It must be encouraged. This guy is speaking a term that most people don't even understand. This was in 2023. 2024, the language has changed.
Mm-hmm.
He has moved from advances in the agricultural sector to repositioning the agricultural sector. Wow! So what has changed? What has changed? Madam President, we are pressing ahead with our efforts to pursue broiler production, with the acquisition of a turnkey bird processing plant, as well as the associated equipment for the provision of various chicken parts.
Mm-hmm.
In preparation for the launch of this significant project, the Ministry of Agriculture continues to engage in discussions with potential farmers. We have I can't read anymore.
So you purchase a processing plant But you haven't has no hatchery. You don't have no hatchery. You don't have no chicken. You don't have no facility.
Don't get so deep in the weeds yet. Hear me out. You have a 2 years sequentially talking about the same project, which is broiler production, broiler processing. You speak about food and nutrition security, 2 years consecutively. But yet, every evidence on the ground suggests the opposite of what you're doing. You have not built the processing plant. No. You have not acquired the land for the placement of farmers. And you know what happened recently? As of the end of last year, they have stopped, STOPPEDDD, stopped the monkey control program. They have defunded the monkey control program. If you are in Charlestown anytime between the hours of 6 a.m. and say 6:30, in the vicinity of the High Court,
monkey coming down the road.
Monkey crossing.
Of course. Why not?
There's a troop of monkeys living behind the courthouse. When I was a boy, you rarely saw a monkey, even when you went to Gingerland.
In the hills.
Even when you went to the hills in Hamilton. Now the monkeys are outside the courtroom. They're all behind down there in Boggs. All behind Best Buy. All behind Mona Waldwin Building. All behind Daniel's Deck. By the Jew Cemetery. Up in Ramsbury, Stony Grove.
All over Nevis.
All over.
All over Nevis.
Because this government here talking one thing from one side of the mouth and doing the opposite on the other side of the mouth. By defunding, taking away the money from animal control.
But you said
how can this make sense to anybody?
But you told me them not have no money.
Let's take this call. Good afternoon, you're on target.
Yeah, I just wanted to enlighten you all as to why so many monkeys are in town. I thought Dr. Dale would have known that. But ever since we had Hugo, the hurricane, and Hugo blew down all of the trees and so out of the mountain, the monkeys came down, and the monkeys that we have down here now are monkeys that were born down here. They cannot go back up in the mountain.
Nobody's suggesting that.
They don't know the mountain.
They can't go back up there.
Nobody's suggesting that. We are saying you have to have a control program.
Yeah, I understand that. But there are some people who don't understand why we have so many monkeys down here. So I just wanted to pass that.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay.
Now, if you're going back, if we are serious about food production, if we are serious about vegetable and fruit production, there are two issues you have to deal with. Prominent issues. One is monkey control. The second is water availability. Right? And both levels the government has failed. Water is the most limiting factor in agriculture. Without water, you can't produce anything.
And the most expensive too.
All right? And so, we know that the farmers have been disconnected deliberately because the government is trying to conserve water for the rest of the consumers. We know that. What farmers are being cut off because they're using the same potable water for farming as we use for drinking and washing our clothes and washing our skins. And farmers use a lot of water. And so a lot of farmers are being targeted deliberately by this government. Being cut off. Don't listen to them talking about, they owe 50,000 or 40,000. Don't listen to that nonsense. This is a program to conserve water. Right? And another thing they're doing.
So you conserve water and reduce the production of food?
Another thing they're doing is that they've reduced the water pressure in the lines so significantly. You can't even get irrigation to your crops.
Really?
You can't even get good pressure in the lines to run an acre of vegetables because the pressure is so low. But let's get back to the monkey issue. I agree wholeheartedly with the caller. 1989, Hugo came through, devastated the fruit trees, crop trees up in the hills. So the monkeys descended looking for food. I ain't got a problem with that. But when I was in charge of agriculture, you couldn't find a monkey in Charlestown.
But you had a program to cull them, didn't you?
None was there.
If they were there, they were hiding.
But didn't you have a program
because we had
to cull them?
We had 7 officers shooting round the clock, police officers paid for by the Ministry of Agriculture. We had 3 rangers shooting for the Department of Agriculture. We had mass colony traps up in the farming areas, Cades Bay, Potworks, New River. We cleaned out entire areas of this pest. And we left the program there thriving. And what happened? One of the first programs that came under the axe of Eric Evelyn, who succeeded me, was to stop that program. For years, they stopped it. They jealously started it back. With the exception, they did not bring back the police officers to shoot, especially in residential areas where they are better suited to do that kind of work. You understand? This is where we are. And this is why we are where we are.
But didn't you also weren't you also involved in a primate study to determine how many
we had to do that first.
Okay.
If you have a culling program, you just can't start a shoot. You need to quantify what you have, the population and all that. I said all to say this. When you hear this government talking about food and nutrition security, if I stroops any harder, all my feelings will come up my mouth.
Don't stroop.
Because it is nonsense. It is nonsense. You want farmers to go out there and plant tomatoes, and you want to plant peppers, and you want to plant pumpkin and watermelons and all kind of things like that. But at the same time, you're turning off the funding from the department to do adequate monkey control. How does this work?
So let me ask Hensley a question. I'm not going to ask you. The $406,000 and counting that the Premier said that they pay to clean off some lands at the Indian Castle would have been better spent on culling the monkey for the betterment of the farmers and for food security. I'm asking Hensley. But if you want to answer, you could answer me.
That's elementary.
Let me say this.
Elementary.
Let me say this. On St. Kitts, Samuel Duggins, I just read a report there, has brought in, as part of the 25 for 25, which is 25% food security by 2025. 25% reduction in imports by 2025, which is next year. So Samuel Duggins have brought in just about 400,000. Let me say that slowly. 400,000 planting and bananas.
Yes.
Here's the problem. Then what? Then what? What is the program? You brought in all these slips to be distributed among the farming community on St. Kitts. Then what? What are you going to do with them? You're building an industry? Are you going to export? Are you going to process? What is the plan? Are you going to consume them locally? So I give 400,000 bananas and plantains. Who can buy them? In a population of this size. Who's going to process all the bananas and plantains? Because if they are coming together, guess what? They're going to fruit together. So you got 200,000 bunches of bananas, 200,000 bunches of plantain, all coming at the same time.
We're going to ship out.
But what is the program?
That will come afterwards.
Really? That is the, I mean, calm down. Because I was going to say something.
Take it easy, cool down.
This is the reason why we continue to fail. Bananas and plantain require a lot of water. A lot of water if you're going to be productive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Teach me.
You plant a banana in the middle of a dry field, what happened to it? It dried and what you?
With bananas, you need water.
That's what I'm telling you. So are you catering for the water needs of those farmers when you're going to put down 200,000 Bananas and 200,000 plantains?
And we have a water problem.
What are you going to do? How are you going to get... Who's going to consume all those bananas and plantains? Coming at the same time. They're the same age. These are culture bananas they brought in from either somewhere in the Far East, maybe India or Malaysia or Singapore, which produces large amounts. They come, pint size, small.
Small bananas.
They're small. They're cheap. I mean, the culture, you can propagate millions in no time. And I tip my hat to Samuel for that idea. But, Mr. Duggins, you can't stop there. This must be a comprehensive program.
We're going to be selling.
To who?
Nevis.
We have bananas coming and from Dominica. We have bananas and planting coming from down windwards. We are importing chiquita from the States.
We stop them.
What is it? You can't stop them. That's a trade infringement. You can't do it.
I think when we have onions, lots of onions, we say we put a freeze and importing onions. And
if Rams and all those importers wanted to screw us,
they could have done it.
They could have done it. You can't stop them. It's a free market.
Sorry, I didn't know. I thought
you can be reported to WTO. Even CARICOM. Remember I had a situation where people were buying sugar outside of CARICOM? And we had to be paying.
Yeah, but remember also when the British government offered the preferential trade arrangements for our bananas and sugar in the UK.
Yep.
Chiquita and Fife
took us to the World Court.
Took us to the World Court because they went through the American government because they fund the political parties in America. And that is what killed the banana industry in the Windward Islands.
So I want to go back to Dr. Daly. Still with Tanya's question. The broiler industry. Everything with the introduction to what the Premier said in 2023 came from you, that we need a national agriculture thing. Okay? When it comes down in light of this, something went wrong this or so. That didn't come from him. That came from him. Makes absolute no sense. So he spoke about, as part of his initiative, that his government has purchased a processing plant. Well, how you buy the processing plant process chicken before you have the chicken? And how you buy the plant before you have a house to house the plant?
No, but
help me to make some sense of that, Dr. Daly.
The other things what he was talking about, you mobilize the farmers, prepare the land.
But nothing of them then done.
All of those things before.
Nothing was done. But he's saying that he has already purchased the processing plant.
It's an island.
An island. And you don't have... So why?
Because what's the state of having a machine, an island for a year, just standing up there? But even though it's a turnkey, you just got to turn on the key.
You're going to have some problems.
You're going to have problems because aren't these highly sophisticated machines, technical things which require, even if they're there standing, they have to go service them and all of that.
Let me tell you something.
Maybe you take it for the dialysis machine, man.
You buy a plant.
No, maybe you take the broiler unit for the dialysis unit.
You purchase a plant.
The two of them will suffer the same fate, you know.
And then parent to house the plant. For how?
The two of them will
something
suffer.
That makes sense.
The dialysis unit and the broiler unit will suffer the same fate. I am willing to bet on that. I am willing to bet that next year May. Is last May it came, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Last year May.
Okay, so we are a year now.
Yeah.
I am willing to bet that next year we'll have the same. It wouldn't move us through.
If you still in the same place?
You hear what Boldface said? The hardest thing in the world is to know. And when you don't know, you just don't know.
Anyway, we are closing out with Shadow.
If I could.
Snake.
I want to invoke the doctor and then write him a letter. I want to ask him a question. If he knew what was going on. The other day I was passing. I hear people complaining. He is the man with the answer.
You believe I'm dying?
Snakes in the balances. Snake in the balances. Snake in the balances.
And they biting hard.
making the balance.
Sorry for Trinidad.
$250,000.
$250,000 US?
Snakes in the country, man, they worse than Mappi. When they making the racket, they just dress up in nice jacket. Some big fat mackerel, drink up the oil in the oil well. I don't know how they found the key, but I hear they empty the treasury.